war in Iran, on Iran, against Iran. We'll make sure to bring you that as well. Some of the developing, I suppose, information occurring domestically regarding that. Senate Republicans closed ranks yesterday, along with John Fetterman reaching across the aisle, as they say, handing Trump a win on his use of force in Iran, despite lingering questions about America's involvement. The Senate shot down a resolution from Tim Kaine, Democrat from Virginia. You may recall Tim Kaine as Hillary Clinton's running mate in 2016, and that resolution aimed at limiting Trump's military actions in Iran. The administration, of course, lobbied support for Operation Epic Fury, holding several briefings with Congress, keeping them in the loop as to what exactly is going on, to what degree they can. And many Republicans that were considered to be on the fence continued to back the military action, or decided to, at least when it comes to the attempt by the Senate, to rein some of that in, which that would be a constitutional question anyhow. I mean, look, this is the thing about any sort of action that the Senate might take, or the Senate and then the House, in terms of limiting, we're going to limit. They already have that power. It's the purse. It exists. And to me, this indicates that this is all for show. It's almost to some degree like the filibuster discussion, all of this, filibuster. Should we get rid of the filibuster? Oh, we can't get rid of the filibuster. You don't have to get rid of the filibuster. You're not even using the filibuster. You're just pretending to use the filibuster. So it's there's a fake argument going on, and then you have some of these individuals that are elected in Washington, D.C. We need to do something about this. We've got to put some restraints on the president here. Let's vote in order to put restraints. You already have that power. It's the power of the purse. This is what the founders gave the congressional side of things, the legislative branch. That's their hand in war. There's the funding of the war and the making of the war. Funding of the war, making of the war. Legislative branch funds. Executive branch makes the war. That is the separation. And it was intended that way very deliberately. So this, hand-wringing over, we've got to do something. You have the constitutional authority to do something. You just don't fund it. Now, that's easy for me to say, because those who don't want Trump taking this action know that the votes aren't there in order to cut off funding. They just know that's not something that they have the power to do, and so instead, they'll just frame it in a more simplistic marketing format of, this is something that, just we need to rein in. It's a power play sort of situation with Donald Trump, and here he is thinking he can do whatever he wants to again. Only Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky voted in favor of the resolution, while Senator John Fetterman was the lone Democrat to cross the aisle in support on the side of the Republicans. Democrats arguing that Trump's actions are another instance of him disregarding Congress's authority to use military force. And again, Congress, there's nowhere that says Congress must give authority. Declarations and authority these are two completely they're not even synonymous with one another. Look it up, dictionary, thesaurus. And they also complain that he lacks a clear strategy going forward and so forth. And I can guarantee you this, knowing Donald Trump, in the modern era in particular, there is no commander-in-chief that has a more clear strategy when it comes to military action than Donald Trump, compared to other past presidents. Now, some of it clearly they aren't going to reveal. This is part of what Trump recognizes as his strength, and it has served him well, whether it is as commander-in-chief or as a businessman. Making sure that the opposition has no clue what it is that you're going to do as best as you possibly can. The strength in that is then your opposition doesn't know how to prepare. I mean, the defense, the strong defense is recognizing what the offense is in all likelihood going to do. And, I mean, the best thing that you can do is to somehow manage, whether it's espionage, intelligence, to figure out what it is that your opposition is planning so you know flat out. Absent that, you come up with different scenarios. You utilize different avenues of formulating, okay, well, they could do this, they can do that, and we need to come up with a plan for each and every one of these particular scenarios. Trump's strength is creating a world in which the enemy doesn't even, it's infinite number of possibilities what Donald Trump may do. How he might carry things out. So but when it comes to an actual Donald Trump, he recognizes and understands that anything you go into, you've got to know as best as possible what your plans are going to be. And when they don't work out, you've got to be ready to pivot. You have to have, and I'm just telling you that I think this is one of the reasons that we as Americans have become so weary with getting involved in these military conflicts, because we have come to associate military conflict, we've come to associate, quote, war, with this sort of, all right, we get in it, and then we're sort of meandering around like a dog that catches the car. Okay, now what do we do? And the entire time Trump was out there railing against those, quote, endless wars, he was talking not about the war itself. He wasn't declaring that there's never any reason or rationale to get into any sort of military action or war, but that way of doing it, he will not do. And I believe him on that. Not based off of his word, but based off of how he operates, how he's always operated. There's this whole discussion about the Kurds in Iraq and whether or not they're being armed to go in as essentially a ground force into Israel to try and do anything, militarily, not into Israel, but into Iran, to militarily, be the ground troops, because clearly we don't want to put ground troops in there for a number of different reasons, nor do any of our allies. And the administration's being very hands-offish, and this can seem very confusing because the reports are that the CIA's behind it, but if you listen to the White House and they're like, hey, we don't know anything about it, we and so you're thinking, well, now how is it that what is that supposed to mean? They're not really denying that perhaps the CIA is involved in, but they're like, well, from a White House perspective, and that's nothing that we're, hey, we're not having anything to do with it. I can just all but guarantee you what's going on here. And this groundwork has been laid. If this is what's going to happen, I believe that behind the scenes for a very long time, and perhaps even some of Trump's visit to the Middle East before that was all about these economic partnerships and everything, that some of this groundwork may have been laid at the time in which any sort of need for ground troops was going to be people from the Arab world working towards the same goal, is simply sort of a loose alliance. Because the best thing that could happen in the vision of, I'm sure, Trump, is that all of this stuff happens with Iran in a manner that ultimately looks as if the United States made it possible, but when it came to really formulating the new Iran, hey, that had nothing to do with us. That's their thing. This presentation of, well, I don't know who's going to be the next leader. That's up to the Iranians. I can all but guarantee you we're not really hands-off like that. We just don't want to be seen as picking the Iranian leader. We don't want to be seen as, when this is all said and done, whomever the leader of Iran is, well, it's because the United States picked it. Because any sort of forces that are going to survive, that may want to be disruptive to any sort of, peaceful Iran, an Iran, pre-late 70s, will use as propaganda, well, this is the U.S. government. Trump is smart. He knows that. He doesn't want the Iranian people to feel, or the world to sense, that whomever it is that ends up being in charge of Iran is somebody that we picked, even if we do behind the scenes. And the fact that you have so many of these Arab nations that are militarily not only helping and aiding the United States of America, but Israel, that are in many instances acting to help protect Israel. And the talk about having potential, Kurdish fighters out of Iraq come in order to help in all of this as well. The Trump understands the more that, and this is some of the brilliance of it, we just, sort of go in, we, in the interest of the United States, get rid of all the stuff that's a threat to us. The people who have been actively trying to assassinate Trump, the weaponry that the Iranians have worked to develop, and the leftover fuel that they got out of the nuclear facilities that we destroyed, all of that stuff that they say they're going to use against us, we're going to get rid of all that. Now, what happens to Iran after that? Hey, that's up to you guys. This is your world. That's your neighborhood. Let them own it. When you understand the approach and the perspective of the Trump administration on what is going to result in the greatest likelihood that Iran is going to end up as it was pre-late 70s, the way that it always was before it was taken over by the Islamists, then so much of what they do and say makes sense. And it's also, for me, one of the reasons that I am confident that there's so much discussion about, well, we've done this before. We've been here before. How's this going to be any different than Iraq, than this, than that? And no intelligent person can say for certain that it won't end up like that. But what we do know is that Trump's approach is one that recognizes how it was that we approached those other conflicts and those end results, which is why he is not approaching it that way now. Which is why he is going to great lengths, and again, I'm telling you, this groundwork has been laid for some time, to make the quote, new Iran, a new Iran that looks like it is driven primarily by the Iranian people with an assist from their Arab neighbors. Now, again, there's a difference between the breakdown and destruction of the bad guys running Iran now. That's one phase, if you will. That's one piece of this. The second is the, quote, rebuilding of Iran. And the Trump administration's approach is one in which, yeah, we come in and we break all the stuff that the bad guys have, but we're going to leave it up to you to build the new one or to take it back to the way that it was before. Weather coming up in a moment. Right now, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely mainly afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 76. And for Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62.
I've been telling you for, about a year, I guess, maybe a bit longer than a year, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoors, and recommending them for a number of different services. I've used them. And I finally got around. I tell you oftentimes about the different reviews that people have posted. Sometimes I read to them, just so you know, it's not just me. And yesterday I was like, you know what? I've never actually written one of those reviews. So I did a review, and I don't do typed reviews that often, because I just am really always unsatisfied with my written word. I look at it and I read it and I change it, and I don't know. I just am never satisfied. I feel as if I never do a good job with it. The upside of the spoken word is you just do it and it's done, and you can't undo it. There's no going back. So the written word I find to be quite frustrating, and I even something as simple as 4 or 5 sentences for a review. It's like, well, does that really convey it? Does that sound right? Yeah, I just toil over it. So I did post it, and then Daniel Hunter, he sent me a text. He's like, hey, thanks for the review. I felt a little embarrassed. Like, yeah, it only took me like a year plus to do it. And he's like, do you mind if I use you as like a person as a reference? I'm like, are you kidding? Of course. And for anything that you need, I'm constantly telling people about it. And I mentioned just driving by some of the newer properties. And listen, I'm going to be honest, and some of you may know this. If you're looking for just, spend $800-900 and just a little 5 by 10 foot patio, Hunter Hardscapes and Outdoor probably isn't going to be for you. But if you're looking for something that is solid, that is going to be a real addition to your home, that's just as solid as building a new room inside your home or an addition to your home, because this is an addition to your home. It's just an outdoor addition. Then Hunter Hardscapes is for you, and particularly if you're building new, and oftentimes you're going to build a new home, and they may just do some pavers and the almost obligatory outdoor hardscaping stuff. I would, during the construction of the home, definitely reach out to Hunter Hardscapes and find out how they can during that period of time when it's going to probably be easiest to do it, come up with something for you that's going to be meaningful and last as long as you're home, perhaps even longer. HunterHardscapes.com is the site. You can find them under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. There were a couple of hearings yesterday on Capitol Hill, and one of them was centered on Minnesota. So Ellison, the Attorney General, Tim Walz questioned Walz, and we'll probably play some of the audio a little bit later in which he just demonstrated what an idiot he is. Then you had the hearings with Kristi Noem, and these were hearings where obviously she was going to be attacked by Democrats, and you're going to see a real division. You see one party that is all about focusing on the plight of people from other countries, while the other party, the Republican Party, was focused on the travesties, the murders, the rapes of American citizens. And increasingly, this has become the very clear divide in this country. You have those that represent, as a party, the Democrat Party, people who aren't American, and then you have the Republican Party that represents Americans. And Trump put that on full display during the State of the Union address, in which he said, I want you to stand. If you believe your job and the job of all of you as part of our government, priority number one is the American citizen. And Democrats did not stand. We've gotten to the point, at the very least, they now admit it and acknowledge it. So why any American would vote for people who fully say, by the way, if you vote for me, you are not my number one priority. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But fortunately for the Democrat Party, millions and millions and millions of those people exist. Otherwise, the Democrat Party would not. There was an exchange that I wanted to share with you because it is such a, it is in full display illustrating this point. And you're going to hear Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut, quote, questioning Kristi Noem, and then you are going to hear Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Note the difference in whom each side sees as their priority.
Miramar Martinez is with us today as well. She's standing right behind you. She was on her way to donate clothing at her church.
Of course she was.
When she came across an unmarked car, the agents sideswiped her car. 3 masked agents in camouflage stormed out, and one of them pulled out his gun and fired at her moving vehicle, hitting her 5 times. She almost bled to death. Wouldn't you agree that shooting Miramar Martinez on her way to donate clothing at her church, a United States citizen from Chicago, is wrong?
Sir, I don't know the situation or the case. I'll look into it to ensure that all the
I'm glad
procedures are
you'll look
followed
into
properly.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we're having folks stand up, I would have Laken Riley stand up. I would have Kayla Hamilton stand up. I would have Jocelyn Ngari stand up. I would have Rachel Morin stand up. I would have the beautiful sons and daughters who were murdered by illegal immigrants stand up, but they can't because they're dead. They were murdered by illegal immigrants that were led into this country by Joe Biden.
Full display, demonstration of each political party and whom it is they see as their number one priority. And understand, this isn't to say that there are not concerns, that there are not reasons to have compassion and care for people that are, not in this country legally, that are illegal aliens. Now, this particular example, he's claiming that this woman is in the country legally. I'm not sure. I mean, he's a Democrat after all, and virtually every single time they portray someone as a victim, it turns out that they're not. But the point here is the same in terms of the priorities. And when it comes to top priority. You've got the Eric Schmidts, the Republicans in Congress that are saying, hey, it's the American citizen, particularly those who are raped and murdered by people who aren't even supposed to be in this country legally. And then you have the Democrat Party, and their go-to is the defense of those individuals. They're like they have become the public defender party of criminals who are in this country illegally. It illustrates a horrific point and divide in this country. But I do have to laugh as increasingly Democrats have taken to any time there is somebody that is involved in some sort of incident in which Democrats are trying to paint the America as bad and law enforcement as the bad guy. You notice that the victim isn't just an innocent victim, but it is Mother Teresa. There was that one nut job, and Democrats had her, I believe, testify recently, who was pulled out of her car because she was blocking traffic, and she was on the way to the doctor. This one, donating clothes to church. I mean, every one of them is on some noble quest. I mean, who knew that these left-wing activists and or illegal aliens that oftentimes in their they just split their time between human trafficking and rape and domestic abuse and doing volunteer work at their church. And it just seems as every time they come into some sort of conflict with law enforcement, they happen to be on their way to do God's work somewhere.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely mainly afternoon and then partly sunny with a high near 76. And for Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62.
Played audio in the previous segment of the congressional hearings with Kristi Noem and the Democrats focusing on the plight of illegal immigrants or those who, are on the side of illegal immigration, getting caught up in the attempt to enforce our borders and our immigration laws, while Republicans, of course, are on the side of national security and the American people. And the victims of illegal crimes and all of the people who would not have been murdered and raped and sold into human trafficking if those people were not in this country. And it's a very significant amount. When it comes to and these are angel families of loved ones, daughters, moms. I mean, this is the thing. They're almost always women also. You notice these victims, they're girls and women. Not always, but definitely, disproportionately, women are the victims who suffer at the hands of illegal immigrants. So once again, the party of women are not only absent on this issue, but are on the side of trying to win sympathy over for the people who are committing the murders and the rapes of these women. This is another Democrat congressman during these hearings, and he actually addresses the angel families.
They are very unlikely to commit offenses. For the folks that are here and your families, I'm sorry. It's terrible what happened to your children or your family members. But they are more likely, and citizens are more likely to be attacked by United States citizens who are not undocumented, who came here and are born here. They are more likely to commit these crimes.
What the F does that have to do with anything? I'm sorry. I am so sick and tired of Democrats dismissing human beings who happen to be Americans that have had loved ones killed by saying, well, they're more likely to be killed by an American. First off, and we'll get to this in a moment, that is not true. That is a lie and we've talked about this during the campaign, this lie that illegal immigrants are much less likely to commit crimes. Total lie. But that aside, even if that were true, can you imagine? You have to be. There's something wrong with you if you don't recognize how cold and hurtful that would be. You're sitting there. Someone you loved was raped and brutally raped for hours and then murdered by illegals, and then you're told by a sitting member of Congress, well, I'm sorry and all, but your daughter was much more likely to be raped for 3 hours and then have her head bashed in by a stone off the old hiking trail by a white guy, by some American citizen, than illegal. Well, golly gee whiz, I guess they won the lottery then, because the odds were against them and their daughter still ended up being raped and murdered by somebody in the country illegally. I mean, what sort of sick, depraved person says that? It's one thing to have these academic conversations behind closed doors, but you look in the eyes of a mom whose young daughter was taken from her and a father whose young daughter was taken from her in that fashion, and you say that to their face? These people have no heart. Can you imagine? Like, heart disease is the number one killer in the country. If you had somebody in Congress pushing to eliminate all funding for breast cancer research, breast cancer, anything at all, and then telling people, family members who's lost, some girl who's lost her mom or some mom or dad who lost their daughter to breast cancer, saying, listen, I'm sorry and all, but yeah, people are much more likely to die of heart disease. That would never be said. Because, one, what difference does that make? And two, because it's insanely inappropriate and cold. I mean, to just determine that when it comes to victims, if you aren't in the top category, what, you should feel lucky? Is that what these families are supposed to feel, lucky? Are they supposed to feel grateful? What is it that a person who is a victim in this way is supposed to think and feel when a sitting member of Congress says that to them? Now, this is an attempt to once again somehow argue that illegal immigration is a good thing because, according to their unreliable statistics, they're less likely to rape and murder than someone who's already here. It's a weird sort of perspective on what constitutes a positive addition to our country, but nonetheless. Most, and you probably know this already, and this has been the huge fight that has been going on between blue counties, blue cities, and in some instances, blue states, and the Trump administration. The blues do not recognize any sort of difference between people in this country legally or illegally. They do not keep statistics on this. So whenever they start talking about, they love to cite the Cato Institute and these other organizations that did these studies, and so they'll compile all this information from across the country, and they're like, okay, New York City, you had this many murders. How many of them were in the country illegally? How many were legal citizens? And so they compile all over the country. The problem is that so many of these, particularly the blue cities, they don't ask immigration status. So those statistics are not kept. And they're not kept in the areas of the country that have the highest crime rates. So there is no way that you can, I mean, you can attempt, if you were to only take jurisdictions in this country that did, upon arresting individuals and then convictions of individuals, break it all down, but you only counted, for statistical purposes, the areas of the country that did track that status. But the problem is that's not what is done. So you have nowhere near complete data in order to make these calculations. Now, the reason that we're presented with information as if these calculations are done is because based off of all of the illegal status numbers that are not in there because they aren't written down, they're not recorded, those numbers, those incomplete numbers, show that people who are in the country or that aren't illegal immigrants are more likely to commit crimes, and so it fits their narrative. And since it fits their narrative, they run around talking about these studies all the time. But it's false. It's untrue. But back to the original point, even if this were the case, what difference does that make? So the thousands of people in this country that get murdered by people who are allowed into this country illegally, instead of enforcing our laws and creating a world in which all of those people would be alive today, we just write it off as, well, they could have been killed by somebody who's here legal, so, Whatever happened to if it saves just one life? Did that not used to be the mantra of the Democrat Party? See, it's only the mantra of the Democrat Party if it's for one of their causes. If it saves just one life. If it saves just one life. Yet if enforcing our immigration law saves thousands and thousands of lives, that somehow doesn't calculate. At least according to the Democrat Party, who during the State of the Union fully acknowledged their number one priority is not the American citizen. What a great homeloan.com. Those home loan needs, you need one. There's a lot of ways to get them, but if you want it done greatly, with greatness, I want a great homeloan.com. I don't want the website and me directing you to the website mislead you into thinking that these aren't local folks. And this is a message primarily for those of you who may be new listeners, because oftentimes when only a website is given, particularly for financial things, it's because it's some massive conglomerate and you're not actually dealing with a person. No, the Carrickers and their team, local right here in Springfield, have been their entire lives. And they, at some point, had developed years ago this website to make it as easy as possible for you to get the process started and to also have very relevant information that just out of the gate preliminarily might give you some answers that you are seeking. But it is also a great starting point. And if you go to the site, you will see at the top of the page Alex Carricker's cell phone number, Anthony Carricker's cell phone number. These are their numbers directly so that you can talk with them. And, of course, you can always just stop by, swing by the office that they have and visit them there as well. That information you can find on the site, including emails and pretty much any way you want to contact them. So if you are a relatively new listener and you aren't familiar with any of the Carrickers and understand that they are here local, wanted to make sure that you weren't misled because of, how me directing you to a website where you can get all their contact info and get the process started. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. There has been this concerning story for some time in a North Carolina district with the upcoming elections. And a candidate in Durham County, and this is an election that resulted in like the full coverage. Like you see it, and you have in the Middle East, and you have Muslim nations specifically in the Middle East, and you got the women that they're covered, and then those that are like covered completely, like you can see nothing. Well, a woman who is of that culture and who voted for Democrats in 2024 has become North Carolina's GOP state Senate nominee after running unopposed. Gateway pundit noting how could North Carolina Republicans allow this to happen. Lakeisha Alston, a Muslim woman who went viral last year for wearing a niqab in her campaign photo, is officially the GOP nominee for North Carolina's District 22 state Senate seat. Alston, who is listed as a candidate by the Durham County Board of Elections just 2 days before the filing deadline, won the nomination after running unopposed. Under North Carolina election rules, the Republican GOP primary for the District 22 state Senate was canceled because Alston ran unopposed, making her the automatic winner. Ballotpedia confirms she will be on the ballot as the GOP nominee in the general election that will be held November 3rd. The New York Post further reported public voting records revealed that she voted for Democrats in 2024. The Daily Caller did an exclusive interview with Alston nearly 2 months before she was declared the winner and noted she repeatedly stated that her conservative principles are, quote, down for ISIS. So this is clearly an individual that is a pro-Islamic, pro-ISIS person that noted, or someone noted and prompted her to do it, that no one had signed up to run as a Republican. And so 2 days before the filing, her name was put down, which makes her the automatic nominee. This is a real problem that the Republican Party has, and I can't say it's 100% widespread across this country. There may be some areas of the country that do a better job of this than others, but we have had this problem here. There's been this real debate over. And we've talked with Don Carricker about this and others in which some Republicans have tried to have some bare minimum qualifications if you are going to run as a Republican, to at the very least agree that you are to some percentage in line with the Republican Party. But in Missouri, you just pay you buy your way into utilizing that name on the ballot. And so you can't, and it's this way, and clearly this is a situation out in North Carolina. This is a new tactic that Democrats are going to increasingly use, and they are increasingly using it. They'll either run as Democrats that claim that they're moderate when they're really extremist, but in some areas of the country, they will flat out say that they're just Republicans when they're actually Democrats. And we've seen around these parts here, Democrats who may not be extreme Democrats, but they're Democrats nonetheless that run as Republicans because they know that they're in a 70-80% Republican district, and that's the only way that they can run. And the party knows it, but they're like, well, it's up for the people to decide. Well, the fact of the matter is, how are the people supposed to know? If you have somebody who's never run before and they get out there and they get campaign ads and they have all sorts of literature that make all these false claims about who they are, how is it that the average voter is supposed to know? And this head in the sand approach that the Republican establishment is taking, because, well, there's a whole number of reasons potentially that they're doing it, and it may vary from area to area of the country. But this is just some of the boneheadedness of the Republican Party that causes the Republican Party to slowly shift to the left and or in some instances have full-blown left-wing Democrats running as Republicans so they can sabotage from within. We got happy hour, Vineyard Market tomorrow, 4 to 6. Also taking donations for the officers' fund for their families and the two officers that survived the shooting. And Vineyard Market's going to cover your first drink with a donation for that. We got Christy Fulnecki coming up in the next hour. I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. I was having a conversation recently with someone who's at some point planning to perhaps put their house on the market. And like a lot of folks, you start thinking of all the different things you're going to need to do in order to sell your home, the upgrades. And my advice, and Emily's is as well, in fact, this is from where I get the advice, is talk with her first, because there are some things that really aren't going to help you. But then there are certain things that may be an expectation of the potential buyer that you aren't aware of. And so you could end up spending dollars where you don't need to and not spending them where they need to, and then you're going to have to do that. But also, sometimes during the negotiations, your house is on the market, and then you have an offer, but they want this done and that changed, or they want this taken off because they're going to have to do it and it'll cost this much. Well, one, any sort of work that you need done, Emily Johnson has all those connections. So she can help get you connected up with some of the best in the industry that is not going to take advantage of you because it's something you have to get done. These are people that she's worked with in the past, and she trusts these individuals. They've got that great working relationship. But also, she's fantastic when it comes to negotiating. So she is at the same time going to make sure that you have the real warrior on your side. That is so much of what she does and why so many people recommend her, including me, for all of your home buying and selling needs. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Christy Fulnecki.
Yes, speaking of warriors.
Yes, warrior. Savage warrior.
Kiki the Comanche is
Kiki
here.
the Comanche. Oh.
We need the music back.
Kiki.
Well, that's
Comanche.
that's not.
Kiki
that's kind of
Comanche.
weird.
Kiki.
This is so messed up still.
Yeah, of course it is. What do you want?
What do you expect
What do you
from
want?
us?
Functional headphones over there?
Actually,
I'll stand upside down and see if I can hear myself.
I did order new headphones. They're
Oh,
supposed to be
yeah.
in today.
Oh, are they really? That got approved?
Oh, that's so fancy.
Yeah.
You gotta know people, Nick.
Yeah, we're going to find
They're
out.
very fancy.
And then we'll find out it's actually the plug-in itself that's the problem.
Probably.
Yeah.
No, I was actually going to say that.
Oh,
The
well.
wild- That's okay. I can still hear myself talk.
We have happy hour tomorrow.
I'm actually going to go.
Excellent.
Yay.
And
Yes.
the Davises, who own Vineyard Market, have been working very closely with the sheriff's departments, particularly Christian County, which they already have a
Oh, yeah.
relationship
That's
with.
great.
And so they, along with B29 and some others, they're planning this big event at the end of the month. But tomorrow, for our happy hour, anyone that makes a donation to the effort, Vineyard Market's going to cover your first drink for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Bonus.
Yes. If I get out of court, I will be there.
Shots.
Jeez. Okay. Remember, if they're
Fireball. Do they have Fireball?
Remember you had to drive
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
there.
I'll
Just a
have an
reminder.
iced tea.
That's okay. You can Uber. And I will be at that event the end of March too. I think that's
Yeah, it's
important.
going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we went to the visitation and it was so sad, obviously, but we
Right.
waited in line for 2 hours.
Heather and Luke, they were there and they were talking just about how it was, and people were posting videos, and it was an impressive sight in terms of the outpouring, which, as I've noted, that's what comes along. That's the rainbow, if you will, to it all. Is whenever one person does evil, you see the good in thousands and thousands of people counter it.
Yeah.
Which is, and then my wife and I, Monday, we were over in Ozark.
Mhm.
And we just went drive around the square, and I didn't know that it was there, but they had two like squad vehicles there, and they were just, you couldn't hardly see them because they were covered. They were like on the lawn of the courthouse.
Right,
They were
yeah.
just covered with flowers
Yeah.
that people and signs and things. It was really touching.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about it, and obviously the people in the military and law enforcement and the families already know this, but when you don't have that in your immediate family and you see the brotherhood of these people, it is so amazing. And then you see these pictures of them with their kids and their family, when you're waiting in line for the visitation. And
Well-
it's really like, you think it's so heartbreaking, but also it's very inspiring that there are very few jobs that you can have, or you have such support
And
and a brotherhood.
I think if you are outside of law enforcement, it is easy to not really recognize the impact on the coworker, because in the minds of non-law enforcement, we're like, well, they kind of know that there's danger out there, and so this is the sort of thing that is tragic and horrible, but there's a certain expectation it may help. But I was watching a couple weeks ago, and it was one of these, I watch all these different crime shows, and it was a story about it was an officer who was killed. It wasn't around here, but there was the 911 call, and so they play the recordings, and the dispatcher was communicating out to let others know, and you could hear it, like, just in them even informally talking to each other, the fear and the angst in their voice, as professional as they were trying to be. And then it strikes you, and I don't know, I guess some people just know this instinctually, but I think a lot of us don't. These are friends oftentimes. These are people that know each other. And so it's not just like the working relationship. There's so much more to it, and it's somebody that they oftentimes care about and love, that they're learning in real time lost their life. And so I just think sometimes we forget, because of how professional law enforcement oftentimes is, and kind of stoic, that these are people that work together every day, that share their lives with each other, and just how devastating that can be.
Yeah. And when we were in line, there was a big group from Chicago. I was like, wow, look at their uniforms. That's totally different. And then Arkansas, you had sheriffs from all over. It was incredible. But they, in May they have, when I was on city council, there's a memorial. I can't remember the name of it, but it was at a church on the north side. It used to be, and then I think they had moved it, but they do a ceremony, for all of the fallen law enforcement officers in the country, and it is amazing the number of officers are killed in the line of duty. I mean, you sit there and they go through the screen, and I mean, it's just amazing. And actually, I was doing a deposition of a cop. It was a couple days ago. And I always say this to them. I mean, maybe it's not professional, but I'm like, I don't know why you do it, but thank you for doing it, because I don't know why you do this. And I even say that on city council. I'm like, I don't know why you guys do this. You're treated like crap, but thank you for doing it. It's their calling, obviously.
Why is it so hot in here?
I don't know. It's
Believe
horrible.
me, I know. You have middle-aged women over here. I'm having hot flashes. Oh, man. Thank you very much.
We've got weather coming up right now. The latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely mainly afternoon, and then partly sunny with a high near 76. And for Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62.
So during the commercial break, we learned that Chelsea down on KTTS had the heat cranked to 76.
76. Who does that?
I know.
Someone
that's
who's
right.
87 years old.
I think she hates herself.
Why did
76?
why did she say that she did that?
I don't know, but I was like, can I turn this down? She goes, I guess.
Once in my life, I want to work in a facility in which I have jurisdiction over the heating. Because
Have that kind of control.
everywhere I've ever worked, and I don't know why it is this way, but radio stations are always the most jacked up when it comes to HVAC stuff. Like, what? I'm serious. It doesn't matter how long you work here. You ask someone, hey, which thermostat controls this room? No one knows. Well, I think this one over here controls this room and the one over there and over there. And so no one knows half the time even which thermostat controls what rooms because they're not clustered together in any way that ever makes any sense. Or it seems like
It takes up a large part of our day.
Yeah, and so
HVAC. And at work, if you think of everybody that has to adjust their temperature.
Oh, well,
at work,
and then when you
and
don't.
That happens to me all
Well,
the
and
time.
then when you don't know what covers what anyway, it just adds to the confusion. So sometimes you're jacking up the heat thinking that you're. Like if you're in a room that's cold, like, well, jack up the heat. Like, boy, I still feel cold in here. Meanwhile, across the hallway, it's 82 degrees because you keep heat, blasting.
What? It's a conspiracy.
I think it is too.
It is.
But
those
so
utilities.
where is our thermostat? Where is
It's
it?
in the KT studio.
Yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. It's just ridiculous.
I know. They're doing it intentionally to you.
I think so.
Smoke you out.
I love this story from the New York Post. Wild video shows BLM leader fighting female staffer who accused him of gambling funds. Oh, it gets. But
this should be.
Oh, you wait for the punchline though. This is the best coming up. Okay, so this is New York Post. Dramatic video shows a Black Lives Matter founder brawling with a female staffer who accused him of gambling away their funds, but didn't press charges to avoid seeing, quote, a black man go to jail. So here he's like, and you can see the video. I mean, he's roughing her up. I got to get a gig like this. Can you imagine? You're the founder of what is supposed to be a charitable organization. You are gambling away the funds. You get called out on it by one of your female staffers. You start clocking her. You're beating her up. And then she's like, I don't want to press charges because I don't want to see him go to jail as a black man. Like, what a gig.
Whoa. And that's your first instinct is to beat somebody up when you're accused of gambling? That's interesting.
Clyde McLemore, the executive director for Black Lives Matter in Lake County, Illinois, was seen fighting with project manager Naisha Hill under a large BLM banner in the corridor.
Did anybody take a picture?
Well, it's on video.
Oh, it's on video?
Oh, yeah,
I missed that.
yeah.
I missed that.
Yep. It showed them flailing arms and grappling, with Hill mostly getting the upper hand against the group leader, who was wearing a BLM hoodie. I mean, it's as if you told AI to create some sort. Everything is such a stereotype.
Insurrection to me.
The female staffer twice managed to throw the executive director to the ground, easily keeping him pinned there as he squirmed around trying to get back to his feet. The brawl was actually last October, but the footage only surfaced during a police investigation that was started in January to a call over another alleged battery. I mean, but what does it say about
ridiculous.
the mindset of what they consider to be a good, positive culture for the black community? Like Black Lives Matter. It seems as if you really, truly believe that, and as an organization, that is your goal is to
peaceful.
Well, and that was a mostly peaceful discussion that they had there in the hallway. But you would think, and I guess it's a matter of perspective, what you see as positive and uplifting. Some people would see a culture, if you're talking about Black Lives Matter, that you would try and foster a culture of positivity and success, but their version is, even when a black man physically is aggressive towards a black woman, well, we don't want to see him go to jail, so we let him get away with it. That's your version of Black Lives Matter? Letting that sort of thing happen?
That's so frustrating.
I mean, talk about the low expectations that some of these individuals in some of these cultures create for themselves.
Yeah.
Particularly as a woman.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't matter, because even if he went to jail or even if he was charged, he wouldn't stay there. Because look at all the riots and everything that they did, and how much time did they spend in jail? Meanwhile,
they were mostly peaceful.
My J Sixers, Yeah, whatever.
Mostly peaceful. Have you heard about the mural controversy downtown? This is
No,
one of the
I
dumbest
haven't.
things. This is so dumb. But it is such a sign of just these people that are whiny and in everyone else's business. We'll talk about it next year with Christy Fulnecki, Pyramid Roofing Company, text line 447 KSGF. Christy Fulnecki is with us. So
Yes,
there's a guy by the name of David Pear. I get Pere.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
And he purchased a building on the corner of Walnut and Campbell. And he has a business that is all about helping veterans in the area. And he said,
That's nice.
he said regarding his company, said our business, basically we do a whole bunch of free online content, YouTube, podcast, whatever. We help service members and veterans maximize their benefits using VA loans, fix their budgets, help them find that purpose and identity after service. To go make an impact in the community and allow them to live a life. You know, they fought for freedom. They, I think, deserve to go and enjoy some of the freedom. We're planning. So this is, guy giving back to the community, trying to do good.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this building that he bought. It's his building. Bought this building, and on one side of it was some big mural or whatever that had been painted on there, and it'd been there, I guess, forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had decided that he was going to paint something that was more fitting for what it is that he's doing, something that's kind of like for veterans and to be a reflection of what it is that he is providing as a service to the community. Well, this has caused some people to pitch a fit because evidently there was a self-taught folk artist by the name of Robert Smith, who was born in St. Louis in 1927, and he moved to Springfield in 1975, and he was some artist, and back in, I think it was 2000 or some time ago, yes, June of 2000, two other artists on the side of this building painted a mural in honor of him, okay?
Himself?
No, of that other artist.
Oh, the other artist.
So they
Okay.
must have liked this artist. And so
I
that
got
back in 2000, I guess whomever owned the building at the time, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, people are apparently pitching a fit that this guy who bought the building would paint over something that most people don't even know what it was. But they're going on and on about this is in honor of
Is
it's
this in the
Robert
newsleader?
Yeah.
Or what?
Newsleader had a story.
Gateway
Ozarks First. Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
It's all
Because and
Oh
I'm just telling you now. I know it's left wingers that are pitching a fit because this is what they did. This is what they now. Some people may say it's unfair to say that, but you just know how they are.
So what is it, like American flag or what?
Well, that's
what's
what
he-
he's going to. I think he said he was thinking about maybe an eagle and a flag or something. Something that just is.
Something that's patriotic.
Well, yes, and that's just going to add to it. And the guy's helping veterans, so people on the left, they're not going to like that also. So it's just sort of to them pouring salt in the wound. But the thing is, the mural. First off, it's his building. He bought it.
I know, Is this really a story?
Apparently it is, because they have pitched
is-
such a fit about it that this guy, apparently he's really nice, and whomever it was that started this whole thing and got, now people are targeting him and they're being a-holes, that he's like, I'll help, if you want, find another place to have, like, another mural. So he's trying to be as accommodating as possible. But he had no idea. He didn't know, because first off,
I think he needs a spokesperson.
it's not like, first off, it was Van Gogh. And this guy, Robert Smith,
It
who,
doesn't matter if it was.
I
It's his
know.
building.
I know.
You could do whatever you want, dude.
I know.
Don't even try to accommodate these crazy left wingers.
But what is funny, and I love how we're just assuming that is left wingers, but you just know it is.
Because they're-
No conservative would.
What conservative even cares?
But first off, and I'm not saying that Robert Smith, the self-taught folk artist, isn't somebody that's important or significant, but he's not even the one who painted it. He's not even, it was somebody else who painted something that was supposed to be about this other guy. So it's like, who do you people think you are?
So, but how are they doing this? Are they protesting? Or are they doing it online?
Oh, they were just going
or are
online,
they
of course.
online?
Pitching it online.
They're
And that's how he
100%
found.
liberal.
So
I'll
he's
tell you that much. That's how you know. And I actually could probably give you a list of their names, because they're the same people that go off on me. I think he needs a spokesperson, and I will actually volunteer to help him if he needs help.
So
It
apparently,
might make it worse, but
apparently what happened was, he wasn't even in town when he I guess had commissioned someone to kind of do a primer over it, and all of a sudden he, being out of town, realized, I guess, that people were just dogging him online. He's like, what the heck's going on here? So, and this is, I'll read to you from ozarksfirst.com. He said, quote, I didn't know Robert Smith. I'm not a Springfield native. I came here. This poor guy probably thinks. I know. This is my message for David Pear, P-E-R-E. Guess what? The vast majority of people in Springfield don't know who Robert Smith is. Don't feel as if, because he probably, when this started happening, he's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. This must be some beloved figure in Springfield. And I'm, again, not saying that he's not important, and I'm not saying that there aren't people who don't know him, or that, I'm not saying that there aren't people who do know him, but the vast majority of people in Springfield have no idea who this artist is. If you were to ask who is Robert E. Smith to 1,000 people walking around Springfield, maybe one or two would know. So don't feel bad. It's not like you crapped all over some sort of iconic figure for the people of Springfield, synonymous with Cashew Chicken and Bass Pro. That is not what this is. So don't worry about it. But he said, I didn't know Robert Smith. I'm not a Springfield native. I came here from the Marine Corps 3 years ago, and I moved.
Oh, they really hate that.
I know.
Yeah, they really hate that. Yeah.
You're making it worse. He said, it's kind of interesting because when I would tell people about the building, they say, which one is the southwest corner of Campbell and Walnut? They wouldn't know what that meant. I'd say, well, it's the one with the Robert Smith mural on it. Only one person I talked to knew what that even meant, and it was, ironically, my neighbor. So nobody knows. Let's see. Now,
I really hope he doesn't say he's a Christian, because his building will probably be burned down.
Yeah. Now he says he's being painted as a villain on social media as the backlash continues. Quote, it very much caught me off guard. It was a little disheartening because, when I first started seeing the messages that came out, he said, I put a significant amount of money into commissioning an artist to come paint. We're painting the whole wall with the mural. The plan, he said, start with a large bald eagle, saying we're painting an eagle here. We're painting a mural on this side. It's going to be front and center, a big bald eagle and a bunch of patriotic stuff that is not political, just America focused. Well, I got news for you, buddy. To the left, that's political. Loving this country is fascist.
It's so liberal.
Mm-hmm.
So is he going to still do it?
Yeah, he's doing it.
Good.
The paint over sparked controversy led by Jesse Tyler, who owns SGFCO, an online store, not because of Pear's plans, but of what's now gone. Quote, Smith's arguably the most famous painter from Springfield. Well, that may be, but do we have any famous painters from Springfield? I don't.
Oh, no. You're asking the wrong person.
And so I think that mural means a lot with his role there. but then also what it represented in terms of the community embracing him. I think it was cool to have something that was so interesting while so distinct and fun and engaged. Again, this is not a reality, and this is
Why are they
but,
even?
But this is, and listen, this is a human thing. You assume that what is important to you is important to everyone. You assume the things that you are aware of, everyone's aware of. And so the fact that this individual that got this whole ball rolling, so now all these people are targeting this guy, not that that was the intention of the original poster, but he's in his mind because he thinks that this is some sort of iconic cultural thing that for him, that everyone in Springfield feels this way. And I didn't know who this was. I had never heard of this person.
It doesn't even matter.
Well, I know.
mean, yeah,
it goes back to the fact it's his
right.
building. And he had actually contacted the city before he covered it up to make sure, hey, there's no like historical significance to this or
He's a little
anything.
more
Is that yeah?
gracious than I could be.
And the city was like, yeah, no, you're fine. You can go ahead. It's your building. Do what
This
you
is a
want.
lesson for liberals, okay? Go get a job and buy your own building and put your own mural on it, okay? That's what I say.
Well, you're clearly a fascist.
I know that's right.
Clearly a fascist.
People online don't have jobs, so.
More with Christy Fulnecki coming up. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 104.1, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely mainly afternoon, otherwise partly sunny with a high near 76. And for Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62.
Some of the text messages regarding the mural downtown. Hot take. Robert Smith thought it was terrible and secretly hated it. Pear has righted a wrong. Another saying, looking at an auction site, his paintings are selling for $100 to $300, including the frame.
That's funny.
Another saying, I'm pretty sure Robert Smith is a second grader at Campbell Elementary School. Maybe painting the mural was a class project. It's pathetic. Another saying, I thought it was the lead singer of The Cure. Now, if that were the case, this would be a different story.
That's right.
It'd be a much different story. Another, art is in the eye of the beholder. I thought the mural absolutely positively sucked. And as you noted, really all of that is irrelevant because it's his private property. Right. I love this news leader headline on their story. This downtown Springfield mural was painted over. Why it matters? The answer is it doesn't. That's your answer. It doesn't matter.
Read the news on it.
I can't stand
loser.
This
news loser.
I don't know why. I really find it. Well, it's condescending, this trend that started some time ago in which when they write these stories, they have to feel they have to explain to you why it matters. Like you're not smart. They treat you like a child. Like, I'm going to tell you a story now. Listen, I know you can't understand why this is important, so I'm going to now explain to you why this matters. Who do you think you are?
Oh, yeah.
But it's a common thing that's done now. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
I got to bitch you something before you go.
Yeah.
This whole thing with the depositions of the Clintons and their reaction, I mean, it is so crazy. And then when Bill Clinton was trying to take away the packet that they gave him, I guess were the emails or something, he was trying to pull it away from the lady sitting next to him. I don't know if it was the HR person.
I think that was one of the attorneys.
Was that okay? The attorney, okay. And I was like, "What is he doing?"
You know what it reminded me of?
Smiling, and I'm like, "Why is he smiling?"
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of what you would see in a show like Criminal Minds, where they are going to visit some serial killer. And they're trying to get information out of them, and they're showing them photos of victims, and they get real excited, the serial killer, and they want to see their work or the work of it, and you could tell they're really enjoying looking at it. That's what I thought of when Clinton was like, "Oh, let me see that. Oh, pictures of me with underage girls. Oh,
no, his reactions.
He's like, yep, those are the good old days."
Somebody last night,
the good old days.
He was thinking, "Is that all they had on me?"
Yeah, like, man, you guys don't have any of the good stuff. Not at all. This was I had
crazy.
I played this earlier in the week or last week, whenever it was. I guess it was earlier this week. These videos started to come out, and one of them, which I thought was particularly humorous, and it's AI generated, which for all the talk and fears about what AI is going to do, so far I have found it just so entertaining.
Yeah.
And this is...
And it blows up other countries, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, it's responsible for Iran winning this war. And so this was an AI-generated video of Hillary Clinton during the testimony regarding Epstein.
Mrs. Clinton, we don't want to be here all day either. So just tell us how you killed Mr. Epstein, and we can all go home, okay? I mean, everyone knows you killed him. Just tell us how you did it.
Okay, look. I knew the guards were asleep. So I took the keys, I turned off the cameras, I went into Jeffrey Epstein's cell, and I saw him sleeping, so I just grabbed one of his shirts and I choked him with it. He kind of woke up, but I actually think he enjoyed it, because he was smiling as I was choking him, which was kind of strange. But anyway, I made it look like a suicide, and I got back home just in time for dinner.
Oh my God.
Now, on that same
Hilarious.
that same reel, then it switched to what is, again, AI, and it's some female journalist sitting down interviewing Bill Clinton about the Epstein files.
Democrats thought they could finally get Trump with the Epstein files. But instead, all they got was pictures of you, buck naked in the jacuzzi with some girls. Aren't you afraid of being arrested?
Well, to be honest, I'm more afraid of that crazy bitch waiting for me back home. I'm not going back. That bitch kills people. She even killed Jeffrey. F that. Are you single? Can I stay at your place?
Okay, let's just slow down a bit.
Are you single?
Scared.
She killed Jeffrey.
Oh my gosh. And he said his reactions were so bizarre. And then he was asked if that girl was underage. I don't think, what did he say? I don't think so. And then he can't remember and said he only sent like 2 emails. He can only remember sending 2 emails in his life.
Which, could be, he's smart enough to separate himself away from a lot of things. Because, on one hand, you think, well, that just brings someone else into it that knows about what's going on. But the upside is, because, like, for example, there are a lot of text messages or emails, it was text or emails, going back and forth to Ghislaine Maxwell that were very sexual in nature.
Oh, yeah. Those were bizarre.
And it was his, quote, body man also used that phone and that email address, sort of like sometimes on behalf of Clinton. And so, if Bill Clinton did use it, or even if he was like, hey, send her this or that, you can always just, as he did during the testimony, say, hey, that wasn't me. That was this other guy that used that, So it sort of creates that buffer zone in which you can't, quote, prove it was him that was doing it.
I can't.
But they know
understand.
they're not gonna...
I mentioned it the last time, is that how this was so mishandled by Department of Justice that this whole thing that Trump's done so well in every area and with Iran. Why did he let this get so screwed up?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
As an attorney, and you go, when Bondi's been in those committee hearings, she has not done well. And
no, I don't know anything she's done well at. And honestly, even when, I guess, in fairness, there are times that she does do well, I find myself annoyed with her anyway because of how poorly she operates normally. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I can't even stand to listen to you.
Yeah, because, his whole thing is about Trump, is about being transparent. And so then you look at her and then they ask her legitimate questions about Epstein.
Right.
And then she comes back and argues. You could never do that in court. Just answer the question.
And we talked about this in some of that time she testified, where she's like, well, the Dow's at 50,000. Like, that's irrelevant. All that does is sound like you are trying to distract from, and you are for some reason. She's so bad. She's made it so much worse.
I'm 100%. I trust Trump on about everything he's done. But, this makes everybody's job harder, because this whole issue, especially mine, because there is so much sex abuse in the court system. Everything that has happened and that came out in the Epstein files about saturating every industry, it is in the court system. And so you're trying to fight something like this, and then you have Department of Justice that comes in, and they don't, if they're doing it behind the scenes, okay, whatever, but you have to be transparent about it and say, okay, for this reason, there's statute of limitations on this, or we didn't have enough evidence, and you don't even have to name names, but go through every one, and this is why we're not prosecuting this person. And then you have, it seems like a lot of evidence, from what I've read in the file about Bill Clinton. You need to at least address, even if you don't name names.
Well, but I tell you the one thing I do know, and this isn't because I even, like, quote, trust Trump or like Trump, that none of this is trying to cover for Trump or Trump trying to cover for himself.
Yeah, right.
And we know this for a number of reasons. One, he is the only reason it's even being talked about today. Back in 2016, when he was running against Hillary Clinton, he was bringing this up. He was the one that was making this a campaign issue, while the Democrats and the media were trying to brush it aside and pretend it was nothing. He is the one who said, we will look into this. And he's also the one in the Democrats keep saying his name's in it this many times. But if you notice, they don't ever say what it is that is said about him in these files. And it's because any sort of accusations against him are so wildly insane that that the media knows people will be like, well, that obviously isn't true. I use as an example some gal who claimed that he raped her at a golf course, but it was a golf course that wasn't built for another 10 years. And it's the same person who, in the same exchange with, I guess, investigators or whatever, claimed that Hillary Clinton was the one that actually was responsible for the Oklahoma City bombing. She's the one who did it, not just arranged. But the things that we know are true about Trump is like back in 2006, whenever Florida prosecutors were looking to take it easy on him, he was calling the lead investigator of Jeffrey Epstein back then saying, you guys cannot let this go. And he tipped him off to Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump is the one that did that. So, and even Clinton said, when we were playing golf back in 2002, he noted that they had a falling out years before, which was well before. I mean, so even the information that does exist, absolutely everything exonerates Trump, shows he was the only.
Just go after it. Why?
But I think that, and part of it is there. I think it's also in our minds. We hear Epstein files. We think there's like these folders, and here's a case, and here's a case, and here's a case. But and a lot of the alleged victims settled years ago because they didn't want to go. They didn't want this to become public. That was their way of dealing with it. And a lot of these people that continue to go out there and say that they're victims, and this is what makes it all muddy. Some of these women who are out there openly calling themselves victims are victims different than what we're thinking of in victims, because they're not even claiming that they were there as underage girls. They were claiming, well, I was 20 years old, and they didn't like, they say that, well, they were sexually harassed, or, maybe they were even pimped out. And so, but what happens is these things get conflated, and all these press conferences with all these victims, but none of those people are claiming that they were underage girls being sold for sex. They're claiming they're victims in other ways. Not that those ways aren't important, but so it becomes all so confusing. And so what happens, I think, is we think that there are all these people that are out there that claim that they were at the age of 13 or 14 being sold as sex slaves on it, and they've named names, but it's all being kept secret, and that's just not what's happening.
Well, but there should have been, like, you're going to do a massive dump about something that's probably the most evil thing that I've seen in the media in my whole entire life, and then you're not going to explain it. You're just going to dump it out there, and as attorneys, you're going to, I mean, it's for everybody to see, and all our kids, and now you have all these allegations about sacrificing children, satanic practices, and then you're not even going to address it. I mean, and Trump's not in there, but I mean, Bondi should have come out and said, hey, about this and this and this.
Yeah. Well, and one of the challenges, and I do acknowledge this, when you're talking like 80 million pages, it's like even if you start saying, acknowledging this, and this, then you can be like, well, why didn't you talk about this? What are you trying to hide? There's so much stuff, much of which is just, completely irrelevant, because a lot of the quote evidence is just like emails, maybe from him to someone else, that have nothing to do with anything. But, we need every email that is from Jeffrey Epstein. And so you may have 90% of them that have absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with girls or anything, but that's in there, I saw people were talking online that, oh my gosh, Clinton, Missouri was referenced in the Epstein files. What's that about? Well, apparently, like, he ordered a part for one of his planes, or it probably wasn't him, but, one of his planes, there was a part or something that was manufactured in Clinton, Missouri. And so it has nothing to do with anything. But that's just where all the confusion comes in, because all of these places and these names get dropped, and then because it's kind of exciting and scandalous, it gets this person over here, this place over there, and that doesn't have anything to do with anything. And so it's so messy. There's so much. It's awful.
Well,
It's bad.
and the only reason I keep bringing it up is because, as Christians, I think
Yeah.
some of the stuff I've read is disgusting.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm not,
And so they're obviously
right.
crapping to someone, and so I mean, are they? You don't even have to name names. Just explain
Right, yeah.
what
No,
you
I
just
know.
dumped out. That like children have access to. Everybody has access to it, and you're not going to do any explaining of a lot of criminal activity that's going on.
Of course it's easy to be like, here's what they should do or shouldn't do, but part of the problem that Bondi or whomever has in the administration, they don't understand the perspective of what we have. I think they need to compartmentalize it. They need to say, all right, here's what's going on. Like 95% of this stuff are emails about planes and this and that really have nothing whatsoever. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's that. Then there are this many people that say that they were victims that settled some time ago, and they wanted that to be the end of it. They settled. It was with one of the banks that they had a lawsuit against because they claimed that they clearly knew, because of the way money was being transferred, that something was going on. So essentially, they were part of the operation. And I don't know how many of these girls, but it was for like millions and millions of dollars. They said, that's what we settle. We're done with this thing. And I think people need to know, okay, that those are those people. Then we have this grouping of people that are completely anonymous, or they say, like one of them claimed that they were human trafficked and they were like on a yacht with Jay-Z, George W. Bush, and some other, and Snoop Dogg or something, and they were like the three of them were selling into sex slavery. So like, okay, now we have a category of things that are really not credible, and here is the stuff that is of concern, and here's what we're doing with it or why we can't do with it. So it kind of at least gives us an idea of these little categories, because right now it's just like one giant stew of confusion.
Yeah.
But
Because I mean, this is the most pressing issue. One of the most serious issues is child abuse in our country.
Yeah, it's
people
horrible.
would.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that people understand child trafficking. The stuff that I see in family court and in criminal court, you would just would be so shocked.
Now, on the flip side of it, and we got to get traffic, and then we're out of time, but I wanted to share this with you. So there is a guy by the name of Aaron Spector, and he's down in Arkansas. He's accused of killing a guy by the name of Michael Fossler, 67 years old. Spencer allegedly shot and killed Foster in October of 2024 after he woke up and found his daughter missing from the family's home. He found his daughter inside Fossler's truck and forced the vehicle off the highway before the altercation led to a shootout. Fossler had been charged with numerous sexual offenses against that very girl and was out on bond at the time of the shooting. So the father, who is facing these murder charges, just won the Republican primary for sheriff in that county, which is Lenoke County down in Arkansas. So clearly people in that county are like, we like how this guy deals with criminals. Christy Fulnecki, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't forget happy. Okay. Don't forget Happy Hour Vineyard Market. Christy Filnecki will be there tomorrow, 4 to 6. News in 60 seconds. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I am Nick Reed. Tomorrow, we've got the Friday Road Show at Scramblers. We'll do the show there live, 6 to 9, and then we're going to have a happy hour at Vineyard Market in Ozark. Christy did say she will be there sometime before 4 and 6, so I know oftentimes you folks show up and you're like, is Christy going to be here? And usually I'm like, no, but she's going to make it. She may not be there at 4. She's got court sometime in the afternoon, but she's gonna make it over. And as part of the continuing efforts to raise funds for 4 officers shot, of course 2 lost their lives, and so raising funds for their families, and then the 2 officers that were shot but survived, for them and their families. Vineyard Market, when you're at happy hour, if you make a donation to that cause, they're going to cover your first drink. And then you can also learn more about the upcoming event at the end of the month that they, along with some others, including B29, are putting together. And it sounds like it's going to be quite a production, if you will. And it's going to be just a really great thing of people coming together. And we'll keep you in the loop on that. But for tomorrow, happy hour, Vineyard Market, 4 to 6. Ozark's elder law, not planning at all is a bad thing. Some things you don't plan for, and then when they happen, it's like, hey, you can't plan for everything. And then it happens, and, planning, not planning, either which way doesn't make much of a difference. It's still a hassle, but not planning when it comes to your death or the need for somebody to make medical decisions for you, or when you need to get into a nursing home, can just take the end of life and make it miserable for you and or your family members that oftentimes you want to make sure have an easy transition. You do things like, I'll just put my house in their name. That way they don't have to pay taxes on it and stuff. And there's so many things that you think instinctively are going to be a gift, if you will, to your family, and instead it just becomes a massive hassle for them. So Ozark's Elder Law, this is where they specialize, whether it is medical power of attorney or helping you ahead of time be set up so you don't have to sell off your assets in order to have a nursing home paid for, and instead some of those taxes you've paid your entire life will take care of it. Wills, trust, all of that. But to find out what you need to do, what will it cost, that is a courtesy. They take care of that for you. And then they'll let you know up front to actually get it done. Here's the cost. Then you can decide whether or not you want to move forward. OzarksElderLaw.com, 10 area locations, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Latest news update. Well, Author of the Week coming up, sponsored by ABC Books. First, latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely mainly afternoon, and then partly sunny with a high near 76. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And very excited to announce a new partnership with the Springfield Livestock Marketing Center.
Which we've been friends with them for
yes,
some time.
A very long time.
Relatively new owners, I think.
Yes. but we're stepping it up a little bit. Now, as many of you know, I live on a hobby farm, and when it was time to start adding animals, we started visiting a lot of different auction facilities around the area. Now, I come from an agriculture background, but my family mostly focused on row crops, so the livestock side of things was really something new for me, and let me tell you, Springfield Livestock was hands down the best experience. Their facility is very clean.
They have a restaurant in there.
They do. But yeah, their facility, it's very clean. They have great seating all around where you can see the sale ring. And the gals in the front office, they're so friendly and easy to work with, especially since we were first timers. You really got a sense that we were more than a number. They really wanted to develop a relationship with their customers. And we did end up purchasing a donkey from there.
Oh, that's where you got Mr. Pickles?
That's where I got Mr. Pickles.
I didn't know where you got Mr. Pickles. I did not know that that's where. Oh.
I have a donkey. His name is Mr. Pickles. He is a guardian animal to our sheep, and we use him for grazing and weed control in the backfield as well. And next on the list is a couple of cows. So the go-to place will definitely be Springfield Livestock. If you want to check out upcoming sales, visit their Facebook page or their website, springfieldlivestock.com. And of course, you can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
I'm really glad to
I know, I'm
officially
so excited.
Good people. Earlier, did you do weather yet?
I did.
Okay. So, Christy was talking about Bill Clinton and the way that he seemed really enthusiastic about viewing some of the photos of him with the girls in the Epstein files during the testimony. And Brett Sturley posted on Facebook, it's a picture of Clinton looking at those photos. And he posted, "Girls, find yourself a guy who looks at you like Bill Clinton looks at the Epstein photos." That's great. That's winner of the day for Facebook comments. ABC Books sponsoring our Author of the Week. Coming up next, I'm Nick Reed. For one, I'm Nick Reed, and Thursday, of course, means it is Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And, every once in a while, we get a kid's book in there, or a book that, either it's for a child to read or maybe a great book to read to a child. And Kat Turner, our author of the week, is author of The Growing Fence, a story for grandchildren of estrangement. And it's probably, well, it's not the standard sort of children's book one may expect to find about, shapes and colors and animals and playthings. I appreciate you being with us this morning. And if we could start off, what was the idea behind the book?
Well, yeah, and good morning. Thank you, Nick, for having me. And the idea was just that I really wanted to facilitate some change. It is a timely and relevant subject that adult children are cutting off their parents and by default the grandchildren. And it's a social epidemic and it's affecting many people. And I believe you understand this as well, just for the simple fact of having me on your show. It just seems like everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. So for the last decade, I have been kind of walking around on eggshells with my daughters and then eventually their families. Not completely out, but not completely in either. And then after a while, your big ticket items, the cars, university, first apartments, wedding dresses, that's all taken care of. And then things start to shift. And there were like less phone calls, FaceTimes, emails hardly got answered, texts went silent. I had a whole year of gifts that went completely unacknowledged. So I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to send anymore. I'm not a disposable ATM who doesn't, even get a seat at the table. And then after that, it kind of went full-blown no contact on both sides. And I used to be really ashamed and humiliated that this had happened to me, like I had done something wrong. But after a while, I realized there are a lot more people who are experiencing this very same thing. So I spent a lot of time researching this phenomenon and found out that there's lots of books and articles, songs, really good songs, podcasts, all on the subject of this grandparent alienation, wonderful stuff, but nothing to address this actual child who is blissfully unaware of the heritage and legacy and love that only a grandparent can give them, and they're not getting it. And I personally am at the end of my genetic line, so no one's going to remember me or my side of the family except for my books. So anyway, about 6 months ago, I was sitting in the dentist's office waiting and saw a box of children's books in the corner, and the first one peeking up said, Being Rude. And I thought, oh, that's a good title. And then I had my big God aha moment that this was the kind of book I was supposed to write for grandchildren and their parents. And so suddenly I wasn't ashamed or embarrassed anymore. I was just filled and devoted all my time to learning how to format a children's book with repetition of 3 words they can understand, and a happy ending, which could have been a little tricky, but I had a good idea. And then also, fortunately, I was a parent who read to my children every day. And I remember that intonation made the book come alive. So I think my story poured out pretty easy. And then I had to find an illustrator, Jillian Dister, and I just want to give her a big shout out because she understood my vision completely and just executed it beautifully.
We're talking.
And you know what else?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what else, Nick, is a lot of changes are in store for this group of individuals who are getting cut off from their parents. The financial landscape is changing, and kids aren't getting Victoria Beckham inheritance anymore,
We're talking with our author of the week, Kat Turner, and the book is The Growing Fence, a story for grandchildren of estrangement. Do you know or speculate what was the cause of the estrangement in your situation?
Well, I think in my situation, it had to do with families and marriages falling away and kind of taking sides, that sort of thing. I was more of a outcast, so to speak, trying to find my way back in.
It's interesting because I think particularly we're a station we talk a lot about current events and political things, and so one of the themes that in the last few election cycles a lot of families have seen, particularly conservatives, is that they feel as if they've been flat out told oftentimes by kids or grandkids that, well, if you support,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's usually if you support Trump, we aren't going to be family anymore. And so you've got even it from a political standpoint, but it's obviously not always that. And I wonder if you see part of the, I don't know, it would be an underlying problem or a theme all throughout, whatever the reason behind it is culturally this pulling away from recognizing and appreciating the importance of family.
Right. It's just a complete cancel culture, because these are intelligent professional people who are raising good children, and they have good incomes and power careers and live in beautiful homes. It's not like they're in a van down by the river. I mean, I raised them right, and I don't feel like I deserve this. And these kids and these Trump supporters, and yes, some of us might have a little bit of a different political view, but we just leave that off the table when we're on speaking terms. And these kids, I will say it out loud, these millennials, they've shifted the narrative to make it sound like I was the abusive one or I traumatized them somehow. They're basically not happy that I didn't raise them the same way that they're raising their own children, which is kind of ludicrous. And then another aspect is sibling recruitment or other family and friends who don't want to get involved, and that hurts too. But I know they know that 100% they will be banished. I mean, these kids are just as quick to do this,
Well, yeah, well, clearly I don't know. You just, when you're in the moment, you don't think if this will come back on you. But if you raise your own children to be so quick to cut off family and to blame them for your place in life, then your kids are going to sort of maybe pick up on that and do the same thing to you.
Well, exactly. And that is the main soundbite of the book, is that I don't want this to happen to them.
Yeah.
I don't want their grandchildren to grow up or see their children grow up to see how easy it is to just throw someone out of their life. That's not right. They shouldn't see this. The book it's so rich in metaphors. I just love it, because I think the little children who will see it, they're going to love the illustrations and the hugs and the snuggles and the presents, of course, the presents. But it's just filled with metaphors that you just can't ignore. Even the title itself, The Growing Fence, when I was Googling titles to make sure that there was another one not like it, I found The Living Fence, which, is the little leaves going up the trellis. And I thought, that's kind of cool. That is a good analogy. But there's just plenty of others. Like, for instance, there's this heart hole, and the grandmother can peer through it and see on the other side. And it's equivalent to social media or other photo apps or friends and families. You get a one-way view, which I guess is better than a no-way view. And there are a lot of grandparents out there who don't even have that for years, and my heart just goes out for them. It's so sad. It's just incredibly sad.
We're talking with our author of the week, Kat Turner. The book, The Growing Fence, A Story for Grandchildren of Estrangement. Obviously, I think that most people would recognize that there in life are going to be these extreme examples in which maybe children grow up and they were in like these horrifically abusive relationships, or their parents were violent, and so they don't want their kids. But I wonder if
this isn't that.
We're right. Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, it seems like so many of us, and everyone's different, but a lot of us grew up and we ended up understanding, even as parents, there's a period of time like, well, one day you'll understand. When you have kids of your own, you'll understand, because what would happen is kids would grow up, become adults, and they'd be like, okay, I get it now. But it seems as if, and I know the purpose of this isn't political or maybe even social, but increasingly there is this cultural movement, I think it's fair to say, that tries to not only de-emphasize the traditional family, but just make it seem as if it's wrong or bad. And so even the slightest memory of well, they didn't let me eat cereal I wanted, suddenly is
Right.
worth ending familial, like just to cut off family because of these basic disagreements that you had as a child with your parents.
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel as though these kids, they really don't get it. And I thought for sure the moment they had kids of their own, finally they'll understand. And I remember even saying, don't you realize that I love you just as much as you love this little baby? And they're like, yeah, no, not really. I'm not really seeing it.
Well, yeah, in that shift, it reminds me also, so many of us grew up in an era in which you'd have the sort of entitled, spoiled kids that got everything they wanted, and there was this sort of cliched saying that, well, wait until they get out into the real world. But
Right.
the problem is some of those people are running parts of the real world. And so now that is considered to be, there's not for a lot of them this shocking wake up call in which they are forced to realign with reality because they increasingly are creating this other reality that creates scenarios like you find yourself in, it sounds like.
Exactly. And here's a whole group of children who know nothing about that I'm French Canadian or my dad was funny. And, they don't know any of that.
So this may be an oddball question, but it seems as if the book is meant for grandchildren who have been estranged from their grandparents, but generally the parents that would do the estranging would be the ones that would be reading them this book. So how is it that the grandchild, how does that work, I guess?
I'm thinking of the other grandparents that we share grandchildren with. Okay. Perhaps they might have it there and they will see it. I'm for sure that the parents, unless there's a reconciliation, are not going to let the kids read it until they're grown. And I mean, that's a big reality. And at this point, it's sad, but they may not see it until I am dead. And that's possible. But it is still my attempt to let them know that even though they didn't know I existed, I loved them with all my heart. And I was just, devastated.
Right. Well, so I wonder then also if you think there's an audience for this book that are grandparents who have been estranged, almost a bit of a comfort knowing, hey, you're not alone, you didn't do anything wrong, and can that could be also an audience for the book.
Exactly. And there are a couple of blank pages in the beginning and at the end that grandparents can write love letters to their little grands and then leave this book with those notes in them. And like I said, it is a sad reality, and that may be the only way they see them. And, you don't want to cause a whole new shift of problems when those grandchildren are grown and they find out that their grandchildren were kept from them. So hopefully, in a nutshell, I really want this book to facilitate some kind of a reconnection with my girls and the kids.
Very interesting.
It's like my big grand gesture.
Sure. Yeah, the Hail Mary, if you will. Any final thoughts for listeners today?
Just that they, like you said, they aren't alone. There's a lot of people who take the blame and they have the shame and humiliation, and you don't need it to be that way. It's not your fault.
Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it. Our author of the week, Kat Turner. The book again. Oh yeah, absolutely, my pleasure.
Book for sharing my paperback.
Yeah, absolutely. They're great folks. They've been doing author of the week longer than I have been here, which is going on 16 years. So it's and they're great local folks, great local bookstore, always sponsoring our author of the week. That's ABC Books on North Glenstone. The book again, The Growing Fence, a story for grandchildren of estrangement. For Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed.
Before you see the dentist, you brush your teeth. Before you head to the polls, you get your sample ballot at KSGF.com. Thanks to Brad Fitzstoll, host of Save Money.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see scattered showers and thunderstorms after 4 p.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a high near 69. Tonight, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the night, otherwise mostly cloudy with a low around 59. For your Friday, showers likely, mainly afternoon, and then partly sunny with a high near 76. And taking a look at Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 62. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air AC season, it will be here before you know it. In fact, you may be using it right now. But before it gets incredibly hot, make sure that you schedule your annual maintenance. And my go-to, guys, for all of my HVAC needs is Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. Their annual maintenance program, it can help you catch costly repairs before they become a big problem. They do cleanings, they can check your refrigerant, check your electrical connections, and so much more. And the best part about the Foreman team, they are not pushy. They do not push unnecessary repairs. I really appreciate that. I know you will as well. If you haven't scheduled your annual maintenance, make sure to reach out to Russell as soon as possible. You can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Caitlin, I am going to start with you.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great. How are you guys doing today?
It's great anytime you're here. It's always wonderful when you're here. One, just because it's you, but then also because performance is at hand. And boy, this is one of what I would consider the broad appeal. It's a great way to bring in people who maybe haven't ever been to the symphony.
Yes.
We've got Broadway giants, Weber, Stephen Sondheim, and then you brought a crew with you.
I did bring a crew
I'm gonna
with me.
because I don't know who any of these people are. They look perfectly wonderful.
All right, so I have some special guests. So this performance for Broadway Giants, we are partnering with Missouri State's Musical Theater Department. So I brought some friends with me. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yeah, let's go around here.
Hi, I'm Josh Young, and I'm the coordinator of the musical theater program at Missouri State.
Where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia.
All right, very good. Next.
Hi, my name is Max Mischler. I'm a freshman in the Missouri State Musical Theater program, and I will be in Broadway Giants.
And where are you from?
I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, nice. We have stations there, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah, nice. I like to know where people are from. Your turn.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
My name is Tegan Allison, and I'm a junior musical theater major at MSU.
And where are you from?
I'm from a little tiny horse town called Wayne, Illinois, just about an hour outside of Chicago.
All right. So tell us what we got going on. Tell us all about it. Whomever, free for all.
Sure. Well, the program is basically celebrating the two masters of musical theater of the last 50 years, and that's Stephen Sondheim and Andrew Lloyd Webber. And what we do is, for the first, there's basically broken up into three sections. The first section is those amazing composers who have influenced them, like Hammerstein and Bernstein, and West Side Story and such. And then we go into actually Andrew Lloyd Webber's music and Stephen Sondheim's music, and then we talk a little about and sing a lot of songs of those that they have influenced, like. Lots of people, including some of Nathan Tyson, who's one of our own graduates, and a lot of other great music.
All right, so here's a question. As heavily involved theater folk, I did theater in high school, and I always liked Andrew Lloyd Webber, liked Stephen Sondheim. Our theater drama teacher director at the time, she always poo-pooed Andrew Lloyd Webber, and I never understood why. And then I eventually got the impression that sometimes I felt as if people that were really into the arts, maybe because of the broad appeal of somebody like Andrew Lloyd Webber, it just seemed like maybe it wasn't as artsy because it had broad appeal, if that makes sense. And Stephen Sondheim, I think, has become a little more popular as the decades have gone on. So why do you think all of that is? Like, why is Andrew Lloyd Webber, if that is true, maybe that's a stereotype.
We talk a little bit about it in the show. His goal in the very beginnings, when he was like 20, with Tim Rice, who did most of his lyrics, his goal was to be on the radio. It wasn't what he became.
Sort of like pop music,
right? Pop music. That's what he wanted to do.
I did not know that.
He wrote. You know the song I don't know how to love him.
Yep.
So Jesus Christ Superstar my first Broadway show that I did was with Andrew. I played Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar, so I have a lot of knowledge about Andrew and Jesus Christ Superstar. So he first wrote that song. It was called "I Love Kansas City Mornings," and
No kidding.
It went. I love Kansas City mornings. And he thought that if he wrote a song about a city in the United States, because back then there was like Georgia on my mind, and there's all there were people. If you wrote a song about like a place in the United States, it was going to top the charts.
Well, at least get played in the Kansas City market, right?
But there you go. I might have. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I wasn't around. But but that's what the song was. And then something happened. Somebody had an idea about doing this whole thing about the life and times of Jesus Christ, and I listen. I think it's one of the best. I think it's if not the best musical ever, one of them.
Well, was not Joseph written for his like kids' Sunday school class or Bible class or something? Am I wrong on that?
Joseph actually, Joseph was kind of like written first, and it was completely different than what it ended up looking like. Different songs, different kind of themes and stuff. But I do believe that is correct. And then it ended up coming to Broadway after Superstar, but it was written before in London. Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite Weber and Sondheim
song or show?
Show.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Superstar. I think Superstar is just amazing,
you did say that,
and it gave me it gave me my success. So I appreciate them for that. I just think the music and it can't be beat, and I actually think the lyrics great in that. I don't know if I should say this. I don't know that anything that he's written has come close to that since then. I'll just say it. I don't talk to him anymore. But Sondheim for sure. I mean, I love every single Sondheim show. I think he's a genius, and I think Weber's a genius too. They're completely different. I think my favorite Sondheim show. I think I would have to say Sunday in the Park with George, but Sunday in the Park with George is weird. I don't know your audience so well.
Right.
I don't know if you know much about it.
The
first act.
Some of the music I do know.
The first act is amazing, and it's like a masterpiece, and it basically is about George Seurat and his relationships and his painting of Le Grand Jatte, the Sunday where they're all standing with the umbrellas and blah blah blah, and that's amazing. And then the second act is just really weird, and it fast forward to the 1970s where like his grandson is creating new art, and my answer is the first act of that show.
What about you?
Oh gosh,
if any.
I'm a weirdo, and I'm one of those people who really likes cats.
Okay.
I love cats.
See, listen, mass appeal. The masses like cats.
that throw shot raised me. And for Sondheim, I feel like I have to say Into the Wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably the most well known.
Yes,
I would say Stephen Sondheim.
Sure.
Yeah. And you?
Yeah, mine is a mixture of their two answers. I would have to say Jesus Christ Superstar is my favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber. Like Josh said, the music is unmatched, and they do an incredible job of telling the story of Jesus, but in this meta-theatrical world.
Right.
And it's awesome. And Into the Woods is also just a classic.
I have an original release vinyl of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, wow.
My mom, when she was in college, bought it.
Keep that safe.
And yes, I do. I play it every once in a while. I think one of the most underrated, I just like even the storyline of Stephen Sondheim is Assassins.
Oh yeah, Assassins is great.
Always really loved. Well, now that being said, we did it as readers' theater when I was in high school, so I was familiar with it in that capacity.
I would love it's always brought up as a show that I would love to do with our.
Increasingly, though,
it's going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, there's no way.
When we did it, there hadn't really been a serious assassination attempt in a while, so it was so far removed from it, you could still do it. But yeah, today.
There's the song. I mean, there's literally a song, "Come On and Kill a President." You can't really, do that.
Yeah, and it's pretty upbeat too, musically speaking. So
I love that. I love that score and that story.
All right, so the performance, with you all involved here, this suggests that there's more than just the orchestral part of the performance.
Yeah, we have.
What's that going to look like?
We got like 45 of our musical theater.
Awesome.
I think that's the right number. These guys are featured. The cool thing about doing this and not doing Superstar, which was actually bandied about for this season, but there were some reasons we couldn't do it, is that we get to feature everybody in like a role, like
Right.
it's not like two people leading the show and then the rest are ensemble. Everybody gets to be featured, and that's really great for my students and for me to be able to work with them and for them to get to exercise the things that they're learning in class is really great. So that's kind of special.
Awesome. Tickets, of course, still available. Caitlin, correct?
If there are any left,
Okay.
there's maybe like 1 or 2 single
Okay.
seats. So we are basically at sold out, which is exciting. We had maybe like 20 or so yesterday, and I think most of them went.
We're kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe people don't realize how big of a deal the theater department is at MSU.
Yeah,
It's very
fantastic.
significant.
It's our second collaboration with them, and it's been awesome. We've had a lot of people coming out, and I'm excited to see a full house again. And it's going to be great. But if there are any single tickets left, you can always go to springfieldmosymphony.org or go over to Hammond's Hall box office, and they'll take care of you.
And I take it you will not be singing Memory.
No, I
Okay.
will not.
A student
Somebody
will.
will.
A student will.
But not you.
Oh wait, no, we don't.
No,
we
no,
don't. I was
It's in the
thinking,
callback.
right, sorry, that's right. Not Memory, but we do have a Norma Desmond. That's what made me think. I always.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're not.
Sunset
It's not
Boulevard.
age appropriate necessarily.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, listen, it was really great to meet you. Caitlin, we love having you, but you should bring people with you more often. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy it. It's so great to meet all you guys. I really appreciate you coming in. Yeah, and I know it'll be an absolutely fantastic performance. And is there a behind the baton? Let me real quick. Nope, no behind the baton. None needed. None needed. We'll get all the relevant information up on our social media and KSGF.com as well. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Springfield Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. We have more storms moving through the KSGF listening area over the next couple of days. If you experience any type of roofing issues, make sure that you don't go with some random door knocker. Make sure that you have a trusted roofing professional on your side. Now, the Pyramid team, they offer free roof inspections. They take tons of photos and videos so you can see exactly what they see, and they are with you every step of the way, including the insurance process. And they also offer discounts for our military and first responders on new roof installs. And finally, if you do experience any type of storm damage, they also offer emergency tarping services as well. So if you experience any type of storm damage over the next couple of days, remember the Pyramid Roofing Company for all of your roofing needs. You can find all of their contact information under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
I always enjoy having Caitlin in, but I really enjoyed that particular discussion with the
I could
theater
tell.
folks.
Yep. I feel like you could have done a full hour with
I
them.
suspect most people who listen probably don't know that I'm not like real heavy into theater, but that I did, and I did even community theater, dinner theater. I mean, it's so like all of this cliched nerdy actor stuff I did in high school and out of high school.
I
I
believe
always
it.
really enjoyed it. I did, and I like Stephen Sondheim. I like Andrew Lloyd Webber, which, of course, as we mentioned, those are the two most, especially Andrew Lloyd Webber, very mainstream. But I don't know that I knew. I may have known it and just forgotten it, that he just really wanted to be, do the pop music thing and ended up theater. It served him well.
Yeah.
He's done a pretty good job at it. But I did find that people that oftentimes the more heavily involved in theater, I think this is the same thing with music and movies, people that are really into the more of a broad appeal it has, the less appealing it is to people that are really into it. Yeah. Even like with movies, people that are cinephiles are like, Top Gun 2, or you'll see it whenever fans of a indie band, and then the indie band becomes really famous and all of a sudden has a wide appeal, then suddenly those original fans feel as if they've sold out or something simply because people like them. And then oftentimes, if you were to ask some people that are really into theater, who's just the, Andrew Lloyd Webber. That was my theater instructor, my first real one that I had in high school. She thought he was just the worst, and I never understood that. She never explained it either. So I was left to just try to figure it out myself, and that's what I came to.
And here we are.
And maybe it's not art. Maybe if it is have a greater appeal, that suddenly that means it doesn't have quite the something. I don't know. I'm not an artist. I wanted to play some audio, completely shifting gears here, and I just thought this was a great bit of audio from The View. And Elizabeth Hasselbeck made a revisit to The View, and wasn't she one of the original? She was like they always have one person that is diverse from the rest of them on The View, but generally not more than one. And it's somebody who's not a leftist. Sometimes they're moderate. Sometimes they could be considered more conservative. But it's really the only diversity that they ever have had on that program. And it seems like, wasn't she? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
I don't even know how long the show's been around. But I want to say she was originally one of the cast members, and then she went away. Maybe that's when Meghan McCain came in. Anyhow, she was back. And the issue of just they're talking about Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Director, being grilled in front of Congress. And, her entire, all of the questioning's from a humanitarian perspective. And when it is the Republicans asking questions, it is from the humanitarian perspective of kids who have been sold into sex trafficking by illegals and coyotes, and women who have been raped and murdered by people who are in this country illegally, and that's the humanitarian component. For Democrats, the humanitarian component is the people who are in this country illegally and they're being deported, and the talk about due process and so forth. And so that's the humanitarian component there. And that is, I'm going to draw down that audio there. And so that is essentially what you've got being addressed by Hasselbeck. But she makes some straight up really great points that you notice the rest of the gals on The View don't really have much of a counter to.
I think all lives matter to God. We're in uncommon times, so we need to have uncommon sense about things like this. Yes, there will be mistakes made, but I think if Kristi Noem were up for promotion right now and she put forward the statistics that 0 illegals released into the U.S. for 10 months straight have not crossed, okay, that nearly 3 million aliens have left the United States, that we have the lowest murder rate in 125 years, that fentanyl trafficking is down 56% at the border, and daily encounters have gone down 96%. Hang on one second. We need a strong border, especially now with our current global situation. And I believe that you may say you don't want border control and you're against ICE, but I actually don't believe you in your daily lives. How many people in the audience here had to go through security to get here? Raise your hand. Just be honest. Otherwise, you go to jail, I guess, for illegal trespassing, right? This is an authorized audience. They had to go through security to get through the border, to get right here, to just hear us talk. We need strong borders more than ever right now. We are being infiltrated.
But listen, we're not to the border when Renee Good and Alex Peretti were murdered, and death is not a mistake.
So you see how that gets handled. When the reality of not just the facts, but the hypocrisy of some people when it comes to security is on display, they don't address it. They just pivot back. No, let's talk about this over here. And it's because they don't have any sort of valid pushback on the facts that Elizabeth Hasselbeck was putting forward. And one of the reasons that what she said really resonated with me is because it's a point that I've made over and over and over again, specifically when it comes to these celebrities that are artists, whether it's on the red carpet at the Oscars or it's Chappell Roan or Billie Eilish at some sort of concert. These people demand the greatest amount of security that exists for their performances. These are people that, I mean, if you've gone to a concert, the last one that I went to, the Lumineers Sprint Center in Kansas City, and you had to show your, identification, your ticket in order to get in, and you could not leave. If you left, even with ID, you couldn't get back in. And not only to get in, do I have to show, my papers that identified I was allowed to be there, but then to get into the, beyond the breezeway to where the actual seating was. And then because we were in the pit, like 2 other levels, we had to show and prove who we were. And if I didn't have that ticket, I would have been kicked out. And so the hypocrisy of some of these artists, or like on The View, that dismiss as somehow horrible and unnecessary to have security regarding coming into our country and an allowance of some people while others not. Their entire careers, they demand that exact form of security. And if there was some sort of failure, they'd immediately fire the people who are responsible for it. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Couple of notes of interest. Woman's Show is coming up this Saturday at the Wilson Logistics Arena. This is the fairgrounds, and free parking, admission $5 at the door. You'll be there, Sarah, noon to 2. I'll be there noon to 2. You'll be there 10 to noon. I'll be there from noon to 2. Okay.
That is correct.
So, yes, I will be at the Woman's Show.
Come and say hello.
Largely, honestly, because so many of the other females who work here are apparently out of town. Mm-hmm. So I will be there.
It's okay. You're supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind doing it all. I just didn't want people to think I was being creepy or weird.
That's okay. I'll be at the man show.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Shut up.
We do have tomorrow morning the show out at Scramblers, and then we'll have our Vineyard Market happy hour. Hopefully the rain, if it's not there, then we'll be outside, but otherwise inside. And donations to the Officers Fund for the recent shooting and their families. You make a donation at happy hour, then Vineyard Market's going to cover your first drink. So see you tomorrow. I'm Nick Reed.